The abandoned asylum. In a quiet town nestled deep in the woods, an old abandoned asylum loomed over the landscape like a shadow. It had been closed for over 50 years. The locals whispered about strange noises, eerie lights, and the souls trapped within. No one dared to go inside until a group of friends decided to explore it on Halloween night. The group, Emma, Jake, Liam, and Sarah, were thrill seekers. Armed with flashlights and a camera, they entered the asylum, feeling the heavy silence close in around them. Dust and decay covered everything, but the strange carvings on the walls looked fresh, as if someone had scratched them there recently. Messages like, "Don't look in the mirror," and "She watches" were scrawled across the walls in a language they couldn't understand. Ignoring the warnings, they ventured deeper, feeling eyes on them. When Emma took a photo, they noticed something chilling in the image. Behind them, barely visible in the shadows, was a figure, a pale woman with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. The image sent shivers down their spines, but they laughed it off, thinking it must be a trick of the light. They continued down a long corridor, lined with barred doors to rooms that once held the mentally ill. Suddenly, Sarah gasped, pointing at one of the rooms. Inside, they saw a mirror hanging on the wall. Drawn by curiosity, they entered one by one and stared into it. The room was cold, and a sense of dread washed over them. Jake, the most skeptical, muttered, "It's just an old mirror." But then something changed. The reflections in the mirror weren't theirs. They showed versions of themselves, trapped, screaming silently, banging on the glass as if it were a window they couldn't escape from. They all stepped back, but Sarah, transfixed, couldn't look away. Her eyes widened as her reflection grinned back at her, mouthing, "Stay." A loud crash echoed through the building, and they spun around, but no one was there. Panic set in, and they decided to leave. However, when they tried to retrace their steps, the hallways twisted, seeming to stretch and change. It was as if the asylum was alive, shifting its walls to trap them. They ran, but every door they opened led them back to the same room with the mirror. The ghostly figure they'd seen in the photo appeared again, closer this time. Her empty eyes stared into their souls, and she whispered, "You've seen too much. Now you're part of me." Emma screamed and ran, but as she reached for the doorknob, her hand passed through it as if it were smoke. She turned around to see the others standing, frozen, their faces drained of color, staring at her. But they looked different. They were pale, hollow-eyed, and their expressions twisted into that same haunting smile. It was only then that Emma realized they had become the reflections. Trapped within the mirror, watching as the figure, now resembling Emma, walked out of the asylum, wearing her face. No one ever found Emma, Jake,